Is it ready, aim, fire? Or is it ready, fire, aim?
There's over 1.9 million podcasts. Most of them never see the results they expected. They want to monetize, but their show ends up costing them money, and they never achieve the listenership they desire. This show will help you launch, grow, monetize, and inspire with your podcast. Get ready to take notes, because here's your host, Adam Adams.
I'm your host, Adam, AAA Adams, and I'm stoked to have a conversation with you about one of these pitfalls that I hear a lot. I mean, this one is probably the one that I hear the absolute most, and I actually think it's the absolute worst advice. So a lot of people are saying to newer podcasters, don't overthink it. Just start. Just go ready, fire, aim. They're like, you can make the changes later. You can always change this. You can always change this. You know, perfection is your enemy. Done is better than perfect. You've all heard that. And you might even agree with it. That's okay. We are able, you and I are able to disagree every once in a while. But let me try to give you a compelling thought or two on the difference between ready, fire, aim and ready, aim, fire. Ready, fire, aim is somebody kind of moving a little fast into their podcast. Ready, aim, fire is somebody who spends maybe a little bit too much time perfecting everything, dialing every single thing in, every single detail, and they never get started. So there's pros and cons on both sides. So what could happen if you just start? You know, what are the good things and the bad things that could happen from just starting your podcast, not overthinking and just going ready, fire, aim? What could happen? Well, on the pros, you definitely will have a podcast. I say that tongue in cheek because you'll have a podcast. It doesn't mean you'll have listeners or influence or impact or anything like that. But by going ready, fire, aim, you'll definitely have a podcast. By not overthinking it, by not letting perfection hold you back, you'll at least have a podcast. And in some cases, that can benefit you because in a lot of cases, it's what really holds us back is our own fear, our own fear of doing something wrong, making a mistake, and sometimes just starting can be a benefit. So I'll definitely give you that. What might be able to happen to you negatively if you just start, or if you just go ready, fire, aim, you know, if you don't overthink it, what could happen bad? And here's a couple of things. I mean, and it gets scary in my mind and from the people that I've seen, it gets scary. Pod fade definitely will happen because you just don't have any listeners. You don't have any influence. You don't have any impact. You're not making any money. So you can't support your podcast anymore. And it just came because you just launched something without really thinking into it. So there's got to be some type of happy medium, right? There's got to be some type of happy medium. I highly suggest ready, aim, fire. But I get that some of you are just overthinking your podcast. And so we got to find what's really in the middle. What's in the middle is, yeah, just start. Sure, just start. Sure, ready, fire, aim. Okay, that's fine. But don't go and publish an episode that's shitty. Don't go and record on a mic that sounds terrible, like a hollow can. Because all of the people that were your super fans, your true fans, your first fans, when you have a mic that sounds kind of like this, they're just not really loving what it's going to sound like. If you have like all of your background noises and you're just kind of going through and doing all this, like, yeah, I get it. It's not what everybody wants to hear. So let me take you back in here. So ready, aim, fire makes sense. Ready, fire, aim seems to make sense if the only thing holding you back is fear. But the issue that I keep seeing is people, they start their podcast and they don't really have any plan. If you ever read the book or heard of the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I'm trying to remember who wrote that. I always know, but now it just spaced me, and that's okay. It's Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey wrote the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the habits of highly effective people, and do you want to be a highly effective person? Just answer that honestly. Do you want to be highly effective or not? Stephen Covey says one of the most important habits is to begin with the end in mind. Like basically when you're starting your podcast, be aware of what you want it to accomplish. Be fully aware. And a lot of people, they don't think about their avatar. They don't think about like monetizing. They know that eventually they want to have a good microphone, but like they can't really afford it right now. There's a lot of different things. So at the end of the day, what you got to be thinking of is what parts can you offload? What parts can you streamline? What parts can you do now without grabbing a crappy mic or recording just terrible content or whatever it is? What can you do right now that helps you go ready, fire, aim, but without doing the wrong parts? And some of those things is you could be hiring a coach, hiring a consultant, watching YouTube videos, listening to this podcast, for example. You could be looking up reviews on different microphones, looking at reviews on different cool things that do this kind of stuff. My Rodecaster Pro. You could be looking up reviews on different types of interfaces, audio interfaces, and you could be looking up like how to treat a room. These are all steps towards your podcast. These are all ready, fire, aim, but it's doing the things that you don't have to go back on. Because if you start a podcast and it's the wrong podcast or you don't understand the avatar, you're going to lose a lot of people. You're going to lose a lot of people from sounding like crap. You're going to probably never gain that traction if you're not doing marketing. So beginning with the end in mind is like, I need to market my podcast. I was just being interviewed on somebody else's podcast. And on his podcast, we discussed marketing. We discussed that marketing is the lifeblood of any business. I believe marketing is the lifeblood of any brand. It's the lifeblood of any podcast. It's the lifeblood of any personal brand. And it's certainly the lifeblood of making money. So if you're going to start a podcast, you got to remember that you don't automatically have listeners. It's unfortunate, but you don't automatically have listeners. Apple doesn't just say, oh my gosh, podcast number 2,100,342 just came out. We've got to get them some listeners. They would never say that. They're like, all right, podcast number 2.1 million just came out, and they're probably not going to have any listeners because they're probably not going to market. We'll watch them closely. We'll split test it. And if they start to have some traction, we'll probably put it in front of some other people. But we're just going to expect that 90+% of podcasts just never get any traction. So we're going to just let it not get any traction. And so marketing, it's the lifeblood of any business. It's not, if you build it, they will come. They don't automatically come. iTunes isn't like thrilled to have number 2.1 million podcasts coming on. And they're not saying, oh my gosh, can we please get them some listeners? You've got to get you some listeners. So it's really just ready, aim, fire. In my opinion, ready, aim, fire. Focus, do everything that you can, and grow your podcast by beginning with the end in mind. I'm your friend, Adam A. Adams, and I'm out. This episode is brought to you by GrowYourShow.com. Grow Your Show lets you be the star of your show while we handle all the hard stuff. We offer reliable and affordable post-production services that allow you to grow your show organically without all the work. So go ahead and check out the website right now, and feel free to schedule a call with me, and let's take your show to the next level. Again, GrowYourShow.com. You just press record. We handle the rest.